Good day, nerds, and welcome to episode 83 of the Nerd Cantina Show. I'm your host, Ken, joined by my co-host, Steve, and we're going to cover this week's nerd news. We're going to begin in the entertainment side of the house with giving our first thoughts on the new show, Space Force. Also, HBO Max opened up this last week. And then there's the rumors regarding Henry Cavill returning as Superman in upcoming DC films. And then we'll move over to some tougher topics on the tech side of the house with executive orders against social media companies, hacktivism by the group Anonymous, and then some uplifting space talk with SpaceX's first successful launch of human flight, and then a little bit of robots at the back end of the show. But there's a lot to get to, so let's get started.
Calling back all nerds. Nerds!
All right, and welcome to episode 83 of the Nerd Cantina Show. And this is an absolutely crazy time to exist right now. This is the worst timeline, but there's still some good things going on in entertainment, and let's talk about those before I guess we get into some of the worst topics.
Yeah, this is gonna be a rough episode.
But let's talk some casual things here first, and one of them is a show that we were looking forward to. I've watched the first 2 episodes. I don't know how deep you've gotten into Space Force.
I'm 4 in.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm 4 in.
What are your first thoughts on Space Force there?
I enjoy it. I can understand why some people would enjoy it. If you're not like really privy to how our government works and, you know, bureaucracy and things like that, it's not as easy to understand as like The Office was, you know. So like everybody can kind of imagine what it's like to work in an office building, even if you're just like a construction worker or somebody who doesn't work in an office. It was easy to understand. This is a little bit more complicated. You know, you kind of need to know the inner workings of our government, how military branches operate, and, you know, things like that if you want to really get some of the inside jokes. So I can understand how a handful of the viewers might not enjoy it. But me personally, since we do this show and we're quite versed on all these subjects, I thought it was hilarious. I think it's great.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think some of the people playing characters, again, it's like an office type genre, so you got to give yourself a little bit of time to like understand the characters, because it's not like
first season of Office was pretty rough. First season of Parks and Rec was pretty rough. Like, but then once you start to understand the personality of the characters or whatever else, then everything fits in perfectly. And I think that's kind of the writing that they're going with here. But I still found, like, even most people I before I was able to watch the first episode, I was seeing a lot of people chime off with their opinions, and most people were like, "Oh, okay, well, the first episode really is slow and not funny." And then I watched it, and I actually found a lot of it hilarious. Yeah, that was funny.
But at the same point, yeah, I understand the bureaucracy of the military and government to some degree. So, like, every time they're having the one woman go and pick up the endangered lizards from the launch site or whatever else, like, I'm dying laughing because that's real life. Like,
or how they shit on the Coast Guard.
Oh yeah,
every meeting they just shit on the Coast Guard.
On the coasties. Yeah.
But yeah, I just loved it. I mean, you can't really spoil a comedy too much, but yeah, when they did you try shooting a bomb at it? I love the whole, you know, poking at our government and how stupid, you know, our government can be at times. You know, it's especially in like what is now should be the smartest division of our military branch. Like, I really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to getting through the rest of it.
Yeah. I watched 2 episodes, and I had no problem with the first 2 episodes. I'm not going to say it's the best comedy that's out there or the best thing that's come out, but it's definitely worth a watch. And
it's quality entertainment.
Yeah, I think the writing's smart. I think it'll, if it can stick around, and Netflix will keep funding this thing, which, man, it's got to cost a pretty penny with John Malkovich, with Steve Carell, with all these actors in there. Like, it's gotta be an expensive sitcom to put together.
I mean, I figure it's on par with any, you know, primetime network show. You know, so that,
maybe,
you know, first season of any primetime network show, it's probably on par with that. I'm looking forward to seeing where they take it. Like we said, the first season of a lot of these our favorite comedies weren't the same show by season 3, season 4. So they're gonna find their footing, they're gonna find their niche. The characters are gonna develop into characters, hopefully we love. And but I just love the subject matter. I love the whole military aspect and just showing how moronic our government can be at times, and poking fun at that. It's definitely fun.
Yeah, I'm a fan. So we'll keep watching them through this season, and hopefully it gets picked up some more. But on some other streaming entertainment news, I know you've been able to check out the catalog. HBO Max dropped just what was the last Wednesday?
Yeah,
so a week ago at the time of this, when this show comes out, and man, there's a lot of long lists of shit coming out of there.
Yeah, there's a lot of shit on there. And some originals that are only on Max that you can't watch through your normal HBO. Honestly, sadly, the show I've watched the most of since HBO Max came out is they have an original HBO Max show because HBO owns Sesame Street. Elmo has a late night talk show to rival Jimmy Fallon and Colbert. So I've watched that Elmo talk show now on repeat quite often because my daughter loves Elmo. And to tell you the truth, it's more enjoyable than Sesame Street because he has a regular guest and a musical guest on, and Cookie Monster plays like Ed McMahon. He's got the band over on the side. Like it's a legit before kids go to bed late night talk show for them to watch. It's like Sleepy Time with Elmo or some shit. It's good though. They do have so they have a big Adult Swim and Cartoon Network section. So a lot of the stuff that I couldn't watch on Hulu or Netflix before is on there. So a show that I never got into that I've always been wanting to is that Samurai Jack, and all the episodes of Samurai Jack are on there. They got your Rick and Morty's. There's a ton of shit. They have a whole DC section. So what's it called? Doom Patrol is on there. Don't have to give DC Universe any of my monies for that one.
Yeah. Is Titans on there?
Loving that. No, Titans isn't on there. Doom Patrol's on there and Batwoman's on there. Some of the animated movies that I haven't gotten a chance to watch are on there. So there is a list. I opened it up and I was like, okay, I got to watch that. Okay, I got to watch that. And there's a small list right out the gate of okay, I hit it to what it's my episodes or blah, blah, blah. I was hitting that plus button a whole bunch of times getting ready to binge some other stuff.
Yeah, it seems like the catalog over there with Warner, all of Warner Media stuff that's getting released through there is huge. So whether it's going to be worth $14.99, it's the most expensive streaming platform, but because you're getting access to the HBO premium channels.
$14.99 for HBO.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't.
Yeah.
But if you are already someone who is willing to pay for premium content, then yes, this is a great value because now you're essentially getting the rest of this for free.
I don't know how many people didn't have HBO before and were like, oh, HBO Max, now I'll pull the trigger. I don't know who that target demographic is. But HBO is a huge channel. I think that most people have. I would say the majority of cable people, if you're going to pay for one monthly channel, it's HBO.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming they had a big customer base right off the jump, and I don't know. Maybe this is enough to get people to say, I didn't see value in it before, but maybe I'll give it a go now. Yeah,
there's a chance that I'll. I go in and out with HBO, and if they
okay,
if HBO has a show that I have to absolutely see, then I will get back into it. But I'm not buying HBO as a regular thing.
That's the thing is, I know there's at least 5 shows on HBO that you probably haven't watched that you should be watching anyways. That are old as hell. You're waiting for some new show to get you to pull the trigger. You still haven't seen The Leftovers. You still haven't.
I don't even know what that is.
Exactly. You still haven't watched what's the True Detectives. You still haven't watched.
Nope.
There's
Nope,
so many. So many good HBO shows.
During COVID, they put some old HBO shows on Hulu, which
so you finally watched The Wire, you fucking asshole.
No, I started. I made it through 3 seasons of Silicon Valley, and then they pulled them. So now I'm 3 seasons into Silicon Valley. I can't watch the end of it.
But how does that not get you to pull the $15 trigger? Because that show's great. And how do you not want to just keep watching that show?
Oh, I'll be okay. I'm okay waiting.
That's too funny.
So, yeah, HBO Max it does look good though. I find it may get my subscription down the road, but that's on par with
a lot of
pretty
stuff
much
on
the
there
price point for
kids.
Netflix.
Yeah, a lot of stuff on there for kids too.
I don't worry about my kids' entertainment. my kids' entertainment is just fine with whatever free options I have up for them.
I know, you just buy a roll of pennies and throw them in the grass. Throw them in the grass and tell them to go find them. You fucking miser. You fucking.
I paid up front for the 3 years of Disney Plus. That is their entertainment for the next 3 years. If they want more, they've got an allowance.
Oh Jesus!
All right. Well, we can move on.
We could talk about Ken's frugality all day.
We can move on to I guess more DC talk. Well, this will all eventually, I guess, be on HBO Max. But we've got Henry Cavill rumors coming out this week. Henry Cavill's been a part of all these latest rumors. He was watching the Man of Steel watch party that Zack Snyder was leading online, which I don't know how you get the invite to that watch party or whatever else, but it was a public watch party that Henry Cavill showed up on for Man of Steel with Zack Snyder, where he was talking about that, and that is where Zack Snyder confirmed that was the initial reporting of the Snyder Cut coming to HBO Max, was at that watch party with Henry Cavill there, talking about their excitement that the Snyder Cut was going to come out. He's been talking about Superman a lot lately, and now we get rumors that Henry Cavill's Superman is not out of the DC EU there or whatever, that he is going to play Superman again. No rumors of it being a Superman movie.
Why wouldn't you? Especially if you're a super nerd like Cavill is.
Yeah. If they ask him, he's not going to say no.
You know what I mean?
And right now, there's the rumors are all around the fact that it's just going to be Superman in somebody else's movie again. There's no rumors of a Man of Steel 2 coming out.
Yeah, there's not going to be a standalone Superman movie for a while, I don't think. But yeah, 3 days work dressed in the Superman suit if you're already in shape, because you figure he's gonna be filming.
Yeah, he's already in
season 2 of The Witcher. He's gonna be filming season 2 of The Witcher, so he's gonna be jacked. So you might as well throw on another costume, make a couple milli, for a couple days work, and be in the next Aquaman movie or be in the next
I think
ball of hot trash that they're gonna throw in a fucking movie screen.
The only rumor or speculation that I heard that sounded interesting to me was if he appears in the Black Adam that they're doing with The Rock.
I was going to say Shazam 2, man. Shazam. Well, they're talking about Shazam. Black Adam's not even going to be in it till Shazam 3.
Oof.
Yeah. So those were the early rumors that Rock said for sure he's doing it.
Yeah.
He's probably even going to help produce it. But from what I remember reading is that they already have kind of what they want to do with Shazam 2. And I think maybe at the end credit scene of Shazam 2 is where you will see Black Adam, and The Rock is going to be in Shazam 3.
No, that's the long game.
Yeah, 2026, folks. 2026.
The Rock's a very busy man. It takes you got to work hard to fit The Rock in your schedule.
He's probably under contract for Jumanji 5 in 2030.
So he's all full up between Fast and Furious franchise and Jumanji and every other movie.
Speaking of watch parties, I logged into my Hulu on my desktop the other day because I finally got dual monitors so I can watch TV while I do some other shit on the computer. So I logged into Hulu and I got an alert that Hulu now is starting a watch party portion of their program. So you just click what you want to watch, you post a link, and everybody clicks on it. There's a little chat box on the side, which I just don't understand why this is taking so long for all these streaming services to roll out. Where Like
Yeah.
Xbox 360 had the same thing for Netflix years ago. To whereas I remember that you could log into your Netflix app, send a friend like a friend invite to a party, and then it would have like it would shrink down the screen and put all your Xbox avatars in like a movie theater, and then everybody in the watch party would be sitting there watching the show that you guys were watching on Netflix, and you could do like hand waves and shit like that. Then they took it down, and it just hasn't existed for like a decade now.
Huh.
They're finally starting to do it. I know Netflix, there's an app you could download to have a Netflix watch party. It's not through the program,
Right.
but this one's actually through Hulu. So Hulu's actually trying to, like it's fun to be able to watch these shows together, and to be able to do it remotely, not having to sit in someone's house, especially with COVID. I'm surprised it took this long for people to roll this out. Like this should be a thing, and it shouldn't just be on desktops either. It should be on whatever platform you're watching it on. So I'm hoping this takes off. I tried to give it a test run in the Nerd Cantina group last night. I posted the link and I sat for like 20 minutes watching a show and no one clicked it. So I was like, I got other shit to do. so I canceled it and took down the post. But I want to give it a try. I know me and Sean Mullen from we were trying to watch Devs together, and we were in our Discord doing that.
Trying to sync up the play buttons.
Yeah, well, we did. We did a countdown, and we were only a couple seconds off. But this would have came in handy about a month ago when we were trying to pound out Devs.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I'd be curious to see how that turns out. But I don't know,
all right, time to go hit a more somber note of the show, folks.
Yeah, so that's it for entertainment, and we're going to move over to tech. And full disclaimer, it's unavoidable to not address some of the things that are going on in the world with the protests and COVID or whatever else. And COVID's taken a backseat this week. We oftentimes end up talking about how tech is being used and abused through COVID. This week, it's all about the protests, riots surrounding the murder of George Floyd. That's not all of our tech section, but these first couple stories are going to relate. One being kind of an attack against some tech with regards to President Trump signing the executive order that is taking a look at social media firms, and it's looking at, again, so we talked, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago, about the concerns around the Section 230 rules, which allows all internet-based companies, whether it's a social media platform or other companies, it holds them not liable for what people do on their platforms, that they can't be sued because somebody is planning a crime through Twitter or Facebook Messenger or whatever else.
Doxing people or number of things that are vile on the internet. And
it's been up for debate because some people want Facebook to hold them accountable for what's going on. And at the same point, as users of Facebook and Twitter or whatever else, I don't want Facebook scanning every one of my messages. I don't want them playing police over what I can and can't say to people I talk to, and then to be tracking and keeping a database or reporting every slight to the government. So there's Section 230 provides access for privacy.
They
and
take
encryption.
They take a look at our private fantasy football groups, and we're all insta banned.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
we're all insta banned.
Oh yeah. There's.
I shit on the people I love quite often in horrible vulgarities.
So we look at Trump signing an executive order asking essentially the government, or ordering the government to look at the Section 230 laws, to restructure them potentially in the future. And this all came on the heels of Twitter classifying some tweets by President Trump as misleading. They applied a fact check icon to some of his tweets.
Oh, boy, did he lose it.
And
did he lose it.
He is not happy about getting put on there, which it's almost ironic in the fact that he has coined and created this whole concept of fake news, and trying to blame everybody else for being misleading.
Yeah, I'm waiting for him to go full Watchmen on us, like, who fact checks the fact checkers? I don't like you. I love this. You know what I mean? Like, politics aside, I don't care what side of the aisle you fall on, left, right. Based on a series of years of political posts on my personal page, you probably couldn't tell what side I was on. I have multifaceted views when it comes to politics. But I do love the fact that even the president isn't immune to being called out for his bullshit. You know, like, because we want this stuff to go on the anti-vaxxers pages. We want this stuff to go on the flat earthers. You know, the fucking, like, anybody that is just profiting from spreading misinformation and duping the public and getting my grandma to share ridiculous articles on Facebook. I want these things in place, you know, so. No, the president isn't immune to these things, you know, and shame on him in the first place for using such a big platform to, you know, manipulate, you know, the citizens of this country in ways that benefit him politically, financially. Yeah. Sorry about it, big man. Sorry about it.
It's an interesting stance that Twitter's taken with fact checking him, and it's put him in a position where they almost have to fact check now everybody who's in a position of, whether it's a senator or whatever else. Like, you can't stop at the president now. So now they've rolled it out on him. They've got probably an entire team on his tweets. Now they've got to look at how they're going to roll it out to others. They also classified one of his tweets as breaking their terms of service with regards to glorifying violence.
Yeah. And he didn't like that one either.
And they put that on there as, you know, that he's glorifying violence, but they weren't going to remove the tweet because it's a public service that his tweets should be available and exposed to everybody.
The weird thing is they won't ban him ever because people think, you know, that they think the president should have access to speaking to such a large population.
Well, and I think it's a matter of they're of the opinion of, if he's going to say fucked up shit, like, people should hear that. Like, nobody should block his ability to.
But should we though?
I know.
Like, should we?
Should we really, in the world?
Do we really need to be spewed upon by all his brain vomit at all times? Like, this is not a man that I need to hear every word. Like he does not have that filter that stops thoughts from coming out of his mouth that most people do.
And the concept, you know, he said the tweet that was glorifying violence was like a reference in a 1960s protest message from a Miami
when the looting starts, the shooting starts.
And that's like the context, and the context was violence. So they said, okay, this is glorifying violence because it relates to that context back in the 60s. And then I had to think, like, does anybody really think that President Trump understands context of what he's saying? Like, he has no historical understanding of what these phrases mean and what he's saying. Like, he's
seen someone else tweet it and he thought it was a good catchy phrase, like, and like, yeah,
he's like, oh, this shit rhymes. This is great.
T-shirts. This should be a T-shirt.
So I find that interesting when you apply higher level, like, contextual understanding, because then later he even said, he's like, I heard it somewhere. I didn't know that.
What he's fighting is a problem that not many people understand. You know, people keep saying, I should be able to say whatever I want on Facebook or Twitter because of free speech. No, you can't. No, you shouldn't. And no, you can't. Free speech does not apply to privately owned companies. Get this through your head, folks. Free speech only applies to you when it involves our government. You have the right to say whatever you want and not be arrested for it, not be prosecuted for it. You don't have a right to work at Target, shit all over Target's policies, and not be fired for it. You don't have a right to go on a private, platform like Twitter or Facebook and say crazy ass shit that Twitter or Facebook don't agree with and not have them block you, remove you, ban you, or whatever you want. You don't have that right. Like, it's not covered.
It's a difficult situation, because at the same point in time, we don't want the right-wing Twitter and left-wing Twitter that ban the other sides because it's not in line with their political ideas. We don't want it that obtrusive either.
Where your animosity should be is with antitrust laws. So the fact that any competition to have a more freedom of speech platform to compete with Facebook is squashed by a Facebook and bought up by a Facebook so that it can never exist, that's where your problem should be, is that we should have multiple Twitters, we should have multiple Facebooks, we should have multiple platforms for you so that if you feel Facebook and Twitter are too left-leaning and they don't let your conservative voice be held, there should be another platform for you to go and say what you want that is more in line, that will not block you and will not change it. So the answer is not to regulate a Facebook or an Instagram to where you can post and say whatever you want. The answer is to not let these giant corporations swallow up every startup that is giving you options that are more in line with what you want to say and do.
Yeah, I mean, antitrust in the realm of tech, it has to get enforced somewhere down the road. The fact that there are no companies can survive once they start to get the buyout pressure, the pressure from these larger companies. So in the end, that's an issue. I still think that, like I said, we've talked about like kind of transparency in terms of service and stuff like that, and we've actually played both sides of this argument over time, where them banning certain individuals, shadow banning comments, doing all that stuff, we're against that. So we don't want Twitter manipulating. We don't want Twitter hiding our comments, hiding our ability to reach our audiences.
There is no other option right now. You know what I mean? Like if there was a competitive option, I wouldn't give a fuck what Twitter wanted to ban me. I'd just we'd move over to Twatter or whatever, like that was poor choice. And
trademarked.
But like, that's what I mean. We have no options so right now, Facebook, Twitter, if you run a business, if you are trying to have a podcast like us, if you're trying to get your message heard, there really is no other option. So we feel trapped in these boxes, and we want to fight the people that own the box to let us do what we want in it. But I think that's a losing fight. You're not gonna win that. I don't know how you regulate that. Like you've said, there's hundreds of millions of people on these platforms. How do you regulate that?
Yeah, but we've talked about it. I don't know. Again, this is where, like, President Trump and what brought up this whole thing in the first place is understanding this Section 230 exemptions that they have. It's either you have a Section 230 exemption and you are not liable for what anybody does on your platform, so you just let shit go.
So you just let shit fly. Yep.
Or you moderate it. And you moderate it in line with your political views and your content that you want available out there, and then you're responsible for that content. And that's the middle ground there, and that's where this is one of the driving things with Trump saying, "Hey, well, you're fact checking me. You're not fact checking a bunch of other people. So like it's sure looking like you're political leaning in this instance, and that's a violation of 230. It's either you're just this open bulletin board to everybody, or hey, you're picking and choosing what goes on your bulletin board, and then you no longer have Section 230 privileges." So it plays both ways. Be curious to see. In the end, that executive order is not going to do anything. It doesn't actually order anything. It doesn't. It's not going. No. It was really just
a flex mode. It was a flex.
It was. Hopefully, he's hoping that it just gets them to back off for right now until 2021, and let this year play out. But it's an interesting thing. We've talked about Section 230. We've talked about these kind of rights before, and I think it'll come up again here before everything's said and done. But we can move on, I guess, to the next topic around all of what's happening this latest week, and the hacktivist group. So Anonymous. If you've never seen the Anonymous, or whatever else, they wear like that V for Vendetta
Guy Fawkes mask.
Yeah, Guy Fawkes mask. They do various videos, whatever else, and Anonymous is a group of hacktivists, activist groups that are really they've gone and they've taken on a bunch of past things. It's not like a really well organized group. It's just a matter of a lot of activists try to claim this moniker of anonymous as they do various works. A lot of, when you look at like WikiLeaks and what comes out there, a lot of that is done through the group Anonymous. So Anonymous came out this week. They posted a video threatening that they're going to take down the Minneapolis cops, that they're going to expose. They're going to pull all kinds of records, expose a bunch of records regarding the cops and police brutality, specifically in Minneapolis. They also talked about a bunch of other cities. And then later, the Minneapolis Police Department website was taken down and inaccessible, which Anonymous claimed. They also put up like a tribute and discussion about George Floyd on the United Nations website. So if you went to the United Nations website for a period of time, it was content put on there by hackers claiming the group Anonymous onto the UN website. So they're definitely getting very involved in the current outrage and current protests surrounding George Floyd.
They walk that line of like public service anarchy. Like I don't often have a problem with what they do because it's a powerful form of protest. It's often very nonviolent. You're just releasing data that honestly should be public anyways. If you have police reports and things like this, we fund the police department. The public should have knowledge of what goes on in their police departments and their government entities. So I don't always disagree with that. It does lead to a lot of what's going on now, though. It does lead to riots and further violence. That are they responsible for? Not really. Indirectly, kind of. But again, like if the truth is what angers you this much, it's understandable. Like, we should know the truth. And if they've been stocking away, cases of violence and things like that and hiding it from us, the fact that it all hits us at once because of hacktivism sends us into a blind outrage. Is it really the fault of the people of the messenger, or is it the Minneapolis PD that's been hiding this for years?
Yeah, I mean, this falls in, you got your white hat hackers, the black hat, and then these hacktivists kind of wear that gray hat where they're doing black hat tactics. They're doing shit that they should not do. Like they're violating federal laws and but they're doing it under the guise of
we're
public
big
interest.
Supporters of Snowden. You know what I mean? Like he's not even allowed in this fucking country still.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But he did a great public service for our nation. These guys fall kind of in the same realm, like it's their tactics are illegal. The outcome though is almost necessary.
Yeah, I mean, they live in definitely a gray world that could it definitely has some, the fact that it's an anonymous group that you have no idea who's a part of it and even how widespread or how large it is. People who really don't have any ties to like the individual who's putting up the video could still claim the name of anonymous and do things like that structure. While it provides protection for the individuals at the same point in time, it's not like Snowden who's been exposed to put his name to this, to a journalist, to you know what I mean? Like there's a complete difference in how these are viewed and can be used. So it's interesting, but they've been incredibly active with what's going on regarding George Floyd and trying to expose some information, some of the things that are in the backgrounds that we're not privy to, as well as just throwing out threats to not just Minneapolis PD, but anywhere that has had a long history of police brutality. And then at the same point in time, this week, I don't know, right in line with that Netflix documentary I haven't started watching yet on Jeffrey Epstein.
I'm 2 episodes in.
Oh, are you? From everything I've heard, it's just kind of like a wow situation.
Yeah, man. Like, holy shit.
Yeah, but Anonymous also, they leaked out, and they claimed they leaked out the little black book of Jeffrey Epstein, which has a bunch of known associates or known connections with a like the initial list. I haven't gone and seen the little black book or whatever they leaked, and I probably won't because I don't like clicking on links that take me to those websites. So I probably won't go find the exact document, but we'll
Anybody
see.
wants to send us a screenshot, go ahead.
But it's there's a bunch of actors and actresses as well as some government officials that are being claimed as a part of Jeffrey Epstein's little black book with connections to him. So, like I said, it's right in line with this Netflix documentary, which I will watch. I will be carving time to watch that.
It is like, it's ridiculous how this man operated, and like the fact that he flew under the, as much as under the radar as a billionaire can fly. Yeah, bro, it's quite disturbing. It's quite disturbing. And I'm only 2 episodes in, and I totally understand how that dude died. Like, Jeffrey Epstein did not kill himself. I'm telling you right now. That dude was dead. No, somebody did it. The list of people who have the ability to and would want to is you couldn't fit it on one sheet. Let's put it like that. Like, this is insane.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm interested to see that one. So,
well, and I hope this black book comes out, and I honestly, after seeing the first 2 episodes of the documentary, I hope anybody in the book that had anything to do with what he was on, they should all burn. They should all burn. Like, I don't care if you're my favorite actor. I don't care if you're a Democrat or Republican. I don't give a shit if you're a scientist that I admire. If you knew what he was doing or partook in anything he was doing, fuck you, man. Like, rotten hell. It was messed up. But
all right.
Yeah, we got.
All right, let's get out some darkness.
This is bad.
Let's get out some darkness.
There were 2 people this week who did the right thing and got the fuck off this planet. So let's highlight that.
Yeah. So SpaceX made their first launch of human flight in the Crew Dragon and getting them out to the International Space Station. I watched with the wife and kids the first attempted launch, which did not go, but we watched hours of that day, and then we watched hours again yesterday at the time of this, but watched the launch, and it's fascinating. It's good. Getting a little space fever back in the United States is cool. Like, the fact that we haven't done this in over a decade, or no, sorry, not over a decade, since 2011, so 9 years. But it's the first time we've launched since we killed the shuttle program and kind of defunded NASA. And now we're back. We're refunding NASA. We're getting back into the game of exploration. We're getting back in the game of scientific discovery. And the fact that the private companies of like SpaceX have stepped up to make this possible is pretty cool.
Well, it's kind of crazy how defunding NASA actually kind of worked out better. The fact that a private company was able to make space travel more efficient. So that's what the big takeaway I got from this, from watching all the coverage too, is that the fact that these rockets shoot them into space and then come back and land on their own, which still blows my fucking mind.
On a floating drone ship.
On a floating drone ship. Like, still, it blows my mind. And they can be reused. It makes space travel so much more efficient. You spend $400 million, $500 million to build a spaceship, and then you shoot it up there, and then like $380 million of the parts just fall to the ocean and can never be used again. Like, that was not an efficient way to be shooting people into space. And leave it to private companies to figure out a way. Like, no, we're gonna recycle this shit. We're gonna shoot that rocket up again and again and again and again. So it makes space travel that much cheaper. So NASA can just pay a private company to shoot the astronauts up there, save a bunch of money from our federal budget. SpaceX is a private company, can make money from NASA to do these launches, while also doing their Starlink launches and things like that. And they said the frequency that we're going to shoot astronauts up into space, into the space station, is going to increase now. So that's going to exponentially speed up all these scientific experiments they do up there. So instead of getting results back every 9 months, you're going to start getting results back every 3 months, and you're going to be able to process data and do more intricate kind of space thingies, like whatever they do up there, like, so the fact that it's going to advance science, like, this is a big win.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a huge win getting Crew Dragon and getting that kind of initial flight and linking up to the International Space Station. And
boots on the moon.
Boots on the moon. And the technology is fascinating. We watched it well beyond the launch. We watched it when they took over the manual flight of the shuttle. We woke up at 6 a.m. to watch the actual docking on the International Space Station, and it was really cool. And telling like my son, like, okay, they're the astronauts are taking control of this now, and he's 6, and he's just thinking like, all right, well, aren't they flying this thing? It's like, no, they're not. Like, they're test pilots, so they're going to take control. But pretty much every flight of the Crew Dragon after this, when it's not a test anymore, is the astronauts are in no way in control of the ship unless things go terribly wrong. It is 100% from the moment it leaves the launch pad to the moment it docks with the space station, 100% autonomous. And it's like, so that's just a robot flying people. It is a robot Uber to the International Space Station.
Know what video footage I want? I want video footage of the crash test dummies in there when they were testing the eject button.
Oh, last time.
So when they, now when they're getting ready for launch, if anything goes wrong with the launch, they got an eject button. Like, and get, like, they kind of explain how that kind of works. I want to see the crash test dummies in there when they figured that all out. Like, that's kind of insane, because before, once they lock them in, anything goes wrong, sorry about it. Like, we can't get you out. They even made our launching way safer for all the humans. Like, these are huge space advancements. Not to mention that we don't have to lock them in a pod with Yorgi Shvedov. God only knows what kind of motives they have. Like, I like keeping everything in house with our team. Like,
I like how there was news coming out of like Russia this week that like Russia was like looking at all of like the space fever in the U.S. and they were just like, so what? We've been doing this. We never stopped. Like, what are you bitches talking about? They were very much not impressed with the fact that we're so excited that we're launching humans. They're like, you guys have been putting humans to the space station. We've just been carrying them for you for the last 9 years. What are you guys all up in arms about today?
That's our party. Get out, go home.
But I mean that moves on. Crew Dragon is still just the small capsule for the purpose of the space station or whatever else. But the next step in manned flight, manned space travel is Starship. And this week, Mark IV, the fourth version of Starship, explodes in fantastic fashion.
Boom!
And it failed another test, explodes completely destroyed in what's called a static fire test, and it's gone. Version 4 is gone. I think version 4, initially when they were talking about Starship, I think they were looking at like version 4 was probably the earliest that maybe they would be able to take real flight with. But they always expected that they were going through at least 4 to something like 8 versions before they got to a final prototype. Well, 4 is not it.
Yeah.
Back to the drawing board. I imagine it'll probably take about 10 days. Yeah.
See you at 5.
So for the next week or two, SpaceX is, I'm sure, working around the clock to get version 5 out and to learn from what happened with version 4. And then they're going to keep moving. They're still looking at, by the end of this year, being able to fly Starship. And again, if you look at a comparison of the size of Crew Dragon, which just went to the space station, and the size of Starship, which is going to carry people, it is astounding how large Starship is. And that's the next step, is to get, instead of just 2 people in a little cone, to put dozens of people in flight in a Starship.
Yeah, it's an exciting time for United States. I'm excited to see what comes over the next decade, for space travel. I kept telling my kids and my girlfriend, like we're like half a decade away, possibly, from a goddamn moon base, like people living on the moon. Like,
oh yeah.
They're going to be able to shoot these things up so often. They're going to be able to resupply like so often that we're going to have people living on the moon. Like, it's, to me, that's just crazy. And it's not just like in our lifetime where it's like, no, it's soon. Like, it's pretty soon. Like, I'm not going to be some old man in a wheelchair talking about, like that this has been so long coming. This is going to happen in between 2020 and 2030.
Yeah. No, it'll be really, really cool as that continues. And I think Boeing right now is building the next like lunar lander and like crafts. Like there's other companies out there. So SpaceX is developing the platform to get out there, and Starship should be the base, the initial setup base. And then there's other companies out there that are working on the next levels and the next technologies that we're going to need when we get there. So it's all interesting as we're moving closer and closer to what I think, if you go back to my childhood, there was never a doubt that we were going to be on the moon or doing at Mars or whatever else.
Yeah, we also thought we'd have flying cars by now.
Yeah. So we're getting closer to what we should have been doing already.
We've had to readjust our expectations of the future and technology since we were kids. I grew up with the fucking Jetsons, and no, I don't have a nanny robot, and I don't have a flying car. So quit fucking lying to me. My childhood is a goddamn lie.
I do have a Roomba. That's good. So that's Mark 1. Mark 1
put a baby car seat on it, and there you go. I know. Now I got my Robo Nanny.
All right, but and then we got just a couple little stories here at the end. Just some cool advancements in tech to end off the show here, and one of them being that we've now got Popular Mechanics did a piece on the most powerful Bionic Eye, and there's been a couple advancements in the last couple months regarding these Bionic Eyes, both in the eye itself as well as then the links necessary to map it to the brain. That it's getting closer and closer that we will have effective bionic eye replacements for people who've either lost sight, and then maybe somewhere in the future for people who are born blind, and providing them the ability to see.
Yeah, you assume with the advancements of Neuralink that once Neuralink gets kind of enacted, that robotic appendages are only going to jump tenfold in their capabilities. You know what I mean? With prosthetics, as far as eyes, arms, the ability for the brain to communicate with, what would it be? Cyborg. I don't know what the technical term would be for it, but these appendages, are going to be, I think that's the key, is now that we have things like Neuralink that are going to map out these brain communications and essentially talk to your eye through Bluetooth if you have to. So like right now they're talking about, you have to wire this robotic eye to the brain. But if you have a Neuralink, no, you just put a Bluetooth chip in the fucking eyeball and you let it ride out. You know what I mean? Like it's gonna, I think the communication part is what's holding us back. So with a Neuralink, being able to talk to a robotic arm and have the finger movements not rely on nerve endings in your existing appendage, I think that is going to speed up prosthetics tenfold.
Yeah, and then it unlocks greater potential in the sense that like this latest article talks about how the amount of the nanowires, the really super fine hair-like wires that come off of these bionic eyes have 50 times the more sensing fibers that can be mapped than your eye actually has. So that will create to where these eyes can see in much finer detail. This is like full Million Man zooming in. You could zoom, scan, see colors you couldn't see. Probably you're going to turn on
for that reboot, man.
You're going to turn on your thermal imaging eye so you could see. So you
how
could
do we not
it.
have that TV show again instead of the $6 million man? How do we not have the $6 billion man? Like, how have they not remade
Jeff Bezos
that show?
Is still laughing at that guy. he's still like, oh, only $6 billion. Chump.
Like how is this not a thing yet? We have real life things going in action. Like how have we not had a TV show just kind of like take it off the deep end and jump the shark with it?
All right, maybe it's coming. I'm sure it's actually probably somebody's got a screenplay out there for it, or somebody's got an idea. Well,
people have been talking about it. Like, I'm not the first one to pitch the $6 billion man show. Like, I've heard many of people say this. Like, how? Like, I just don't understand. Someone must own the rights to. I think it's CBS, and those old timers at CBS are still working on a fucking another Murder, She Wrote. So, like, we could probably scrap that.
Well, all right, and then. We can go with our last interesting tech thing, and
I just loved this. I thought it was hilarious.
You're a big fan of the Boston Dynamic dog, and now we get in New Zealand,
bro. No picking up dog shit, no shedding. Like, never have to train it. You just program it. Like, this is the dog I want, man. Like, this is my kind of dog.
Yeah. So, and now it's been trained or programmed in New Zealand for herding sheep. And they're using a Robodog to effectively herd sheep over there in New Zealand, which is incredibly interesting.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the day where my dog trainer is not some tattooed redneck with a mullet that breeds dogs on the side, and I have to drop my dog off for 2 weeks. I want to bring my dog to like the Apple guy and have some egghead just plug a USB into my dog's ass, and now it does everything I want it to do.
Yeah, well, now we see that they can effectively herd sheep. These Robodogs. I mean, no job is safe. Even the fucking dogs are losing their jobs.
No job is safe.
Automation and robots are coming. They're taking every job. Even a cheap herding dog is losing their work.
Horses are going to put cowboys out of business. Yeah. You're gonna have a bunch of dudes in boots and hats drinking a lot of Budweisers, getting fat. No, you figure it's probably so easy. Just map out the perimeter, like just download, some GPS into this fucking thing, and boom. Yeah, don't let the sheep go here. Push them here.
You put a couple of them together. They can all talk to each other perfectly, to where they can just shape it out exactly. Like, you give them a GPS grid. You want to drop off some sheep. These Robodogs are going to get them there.
Oh, for sure. Like, I just love this shit, man. This is the future. What I want to see though is what it's going to do. What kind of defense programs it has when the wolf comes. Like, what kind of defense mechanisms are we strapping this thing up with for the coyotes?
All right. I think that's it for a tough week.
Yeah,
and it's tough for friends of ours. It's tough for family. That curfews at the time that we recorded this yesterday. Had the most curfews put in this country, I think, in the history. The most cities that had enacted some levels of curfews. There's
the most National Guard ever enacted in, I think, the country's history.
So it's a tough time. Hopefully, you can still binge watch some things and shut your brain off for a little bit, but don't shut it off so much that you're not aware of, again, some of these tech advancements, some of the things that are going to affect us in society going forward.
And overall, just, for our entire audience, just be safe. I live in Chicago. It was a mess here yesterday. We have lots of friends in Atlanta, in LA, all over the country. So overall, just be safe. Try to hunker down, and we'll get through this. So hopefully these little episodes take some relief for you and get your mind in a different area with some more positivity, and gives you at least 1 hour where we're not looking at our country literally burn.
Yeah, so I guess with all that said, join us over at thenerdcantina.com/community. Join over the group there and find some distractions in the good articles, the good conversations that we're having, and let's let's keep building out this community. Let's keep having some good times.
With all that said, guys, we'll see you next week.